trading psychology is complete bullshit if you lack a proven system, right? So the key here is that if you don't have a profitable trading strategy, you shouldn't be worried about meditating or taking cold shower, because these things will not make you profitable overnight. Everyone tells you stuff like, oh, control your emotions, oh, stay disciplined, right? But the thing is, that advice is completely useless for you if you're still stuck in a losing cycle because you're using some random strategy that you found on YouTube. Alright, that's the truth. With that said, you can have the best strategy in the world, like a 80% win rate trading strategy, but if you don't have any control over your emotions, you will still lose. And the reality is that a lot of traders, they actually know how to analyze the charts, but they still fail because they can't handle the mental game of trading. They chase losses and then they revenge trade, and then they take even more losses, and then they let fear and greed control them, and as a result they take a bunch of stupid trades and then they lose even more money, and this vicious cycle repeats itself over and over again until they end up quitting trading once and for all. The harsh truth is that if you don't master both the mental and the technical aspect of trading, you will never make it. Point blank, period. That's why this video is split into two parts. The technical edge, which is your strategy, and the mental edge, which is your mindset. Because in order to become a consistently profitable trader, you need to master both. Now let's start with the technical side. This is what most traders focus on. Things like your strategy, your indicators, your Japanese candlestick charts, whatever it is important. But with that said, a strategy alone will not make you profitable. And that's the harsh truth. Because you can't just plug like a random strategy that you found on YouTube and expect to make millions the next day. It doesn't work that way. What you need is an edge, which is a system with a positive expectancy over time. Now, it does not guarantee that you will win 100% of the trades that you take, but it actually increases the odds of your success in the market. It's what's gonna give you that competitive advantage over your competition. Now, my edge is market mechanics, which comprise of market structure, institutional zones, and liquidity concepts and order flow. Now, market structure allows me to understand what's going on with price right now at the moment. So this is pretty much the skeleton of the markets, and this just allows me to know whether price is bullish right now or is price bearish, so that I can trade with the overall trend direction. And institutional zones, where I'm gonna enter into the market right before they enter, so that I can write the big money. And liquidity concepts allow me to know exactly when should I enter for the trade, right? Because ideally, I want to wait for price to sweep some form of liquidity before the real move actually happens. And once again, this allows me to be on the winning side of the market. And this allows me to not trade like a bunch of retail traders. And then order flow allows me to understand who is in control of the market, whether that's supply or that's demand. So if I know that supply is in control of the market, that just means that there's a ton of selling volume at the moment, and there's a bunch of sell orders, which means price is most likely going to continue going down. And then if there's an overwhelming amount of buy orders, buying volume, and a large amount of just buy orders as a whole, then there's probably more demand in the market, and I'm most likely going to be looking to buy. So the next question becomes, how do you actually build out an edge? An edge is basically your trading plan. And your trading plan is basically a set of criteria which allows you to know when to actually enter into the markets and when to get out. So if you're constantly stressed, emotional, or second guessing your trades, it's probably because your strategy isn't reliable. A good mechanical trading system removes the guesswork and give you confidence. That's a bicep right there. And I know it's super ugly, right? Just ignore my drawing. I'm a trader, I'm not an artist. When you know your edge and you actually trust your plan, your mindset will naturally improve. So instead of obsessing over psychology hacks, focus on building a solid strategy. Fix the system and the mindset will follow as a result. Once you have created your trading plan, which is now your edge, you are halfway there. your job is not done yet because you need to rigorously test it before putting real money on the line. Now, trading without testing your edge, it's like trying to launch a rocket without checking if it can actually fly. Just think about it. You wouldn't just build a spaceship, strap yourself in, and hope for the best. You will run countless simulations, test every single component, and make sure that it can actually handle real-world conditions before actually take off. Just look at Elon Musk for an example. He didn't launch the first SpaceX rocket and expect instant success. No, it took multiple failed tests, countless adjustments, and years of refining before they finally succeed with a launch. The same thing applies for trading. If you don't backtest and forward test your trading strategy, you are basically gambling, hoping it works instead of knowing it does. But when you put in the work to prove your edge, you trade with confidence because you actually seen it succeed under pressure. Therefore, you need to backtest and forward test your edge to prove that your strategy actually works across different market conditions. Now, backtesting is when you take a strategy and you test it out based on past market data. You manually go through historical price action, log your trades, and you analyze how your system will have performed over hundreds, if not thousands, of trades. This helps you see whether your strategy actually have a positive expectancy and give you confidence that over time it will actually make you money. Forward testing or paper trading is when you take that same strategy and you test it out in live market conditions, but without risking real money. This is crucial because it exposes you to real-time market conditions like slippage and spreads, all the things that backtesting doesn't fully account for. Now remember, most traders, they skip this step and jump straight to live trading. And when they do that, they lose their hard-earned money, they blow accounts because they are trading a system that haven't been proven. Now listen, professional traders, they don't just trade blindly. They collect data and they analyze their edge and they refine their execution before putting real money on the line itself. Now, one of the biggest reasons traders fail is a lack of confidence in their strategy. And that's because they haven't actually put in the work to actually prove their edge. Instead of relying on hard data, they take trades based on emotions or what they call gut feeling, or whatever they see on social media. Just because this trading guru entered for a buy on USD, I'm gonna do the same. And this leads to inconsistency. And when you are inconsistent with your actions, how do you expect to get consistent profits? Because inconsistent actions leads to inconsistent results. And this lack of confidence in their strategy shows up in two ways. They either jump in trades way too early, or they jump in trades way too late. Okay, or they don't jump into a trade at all, right? They jump into trades too early because they are often trading on impulse. They are chasing the market with no real plan whatsoever. And sometimes they don't even bother to enter for the trade because they hesitate. They hesitate at the perfect entry, waiting for some imaginary perfect confirmation that never comes. They want every single indicator to align, every single candlestick to be picture perfect, and every condition to be just right before pulling the trigger. But by the time they finally convince themselves to enter for the trade, guess what? The setup has already went in their way. They are way too late. Move is already gone. The reality is trading is all about probabilities. It's not about guarantees. You will never get all the green lights at once. If you have done the work to test and refine your edge, you don't need to hesitate. You already know that your strategy have a positive expectancy over time. The key here is to trust the process. Execute when your setup appears and let the data, once again, not fear or uncertainty, guide your decisions. Now, confidence in trading doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror or watching YouTube videos or copying someone else's strategy. It comes when you know that your edge actually works because you've seen it play out over and over again. When you have real data from hundreds or thousands of trades that you have backtested and forward tested, you no longer second guess yourself. You don't hesitate to take trades, you don't panic when you hit a losing streak, and you don't close your winners way too early. Just think about it this way. If you know that your strategy has a 60% win rates over 500 trades, would you freak out if you lose 5 trades in a row? You won't, because you know that over the span of large numbers, over a large sample size of trades, you will eventually become profitable, which means you will stick to the plan because the data actually backs you up. But if you haven't put in the work to gather data, that means your backtesting and forward testing haven't been done, every single trade that you take will feel like a gamble. You will constantly question your setups, overthink your entries, and let emotions take over, which leads to bad decisions, and bad decisions leads to losses. And losses after losses lead to blown accounts. Now, this is exactly why backtesting and forward testing are crucial. When you have data that actually backs that your strategy works, you eliminate doubts, you trade with confidence, and most importantly, you make decisions based on logic, not emotions. Just by doing this simple thing alone, you will be able to remove 90% of the emotions from the equation. Now, some of you watching this might already know all this stuff. But the thing is, people know what to do, but they just don't do it. The problem is that most traders never stick to one strategy long enough to see real results. They suffer from what I call the shiny strategy syndrome. They take a few losses, and then they start getting frustrated, and the next thing you know, they're out there searching for the holy grail strategy that will actually get them to become consistently profitable, thinking that the problem is with their strategy, not their execution. Next thing you know, these guys start binge watching ICT and start learning a bunch of ICT concepts. And when that actually don't work out, they start to go to the next shiny strategy and start learning a bunch of indicators or smart money concepts or price action concepts, and they pretty much oscillate in this vicious cycle of strategy hopping, and they end up just never getting a deep understanding of one strategy. Now, this constant strategy hopping thing is just another form of instant gratification. Just look at the world today. Everything is built around instant gratification. Kids grow up with Netflix nowadays, who don't have to actually wait for a week for like the next episode. They just click next and they binge watch the next episode. And food delivery apps like Uber Eats. And then we got social media like TikTok, Instagram, which just pumps out endless dopamine hits with every like and notification. And this same mindset spills into trading. And the thing is, traders want fast results. They want a system that works immediately with the least amount of effort. They want to take the path of least resistance and become a millionaire trader in 3 months. So when they hit a rough patch, instead of refining their strategy, their existing strategy, they look for the next shiny strategy, the next shiny object, the next holy grail trading system. And it's usually some new and improved strategy that is repackaged as a secret to success, just like the turtle soup strategy or the Bermuda Triangle strategy or the silver bullet sniper entry 100% win rate trading strategy. Now, with that said, professional traders know that there is no magic system. It's all about consistency and execution. The truth is, no matter what strategy you use, you will still have losing streaks, you will still go through periods of doubts, and you will also just face a ton of uncertainty as well. It's just part of the game. But if you keep chasing all these shortcuts, you will never build the skill set needed to actually become profitable. So with that said, stop looking for the next shiny strategy. Pick one, master it, and then refine your execution, refine your edge over time, because that's the real secret to long-term success. And that brings us to part 2, which is the mental side of trading. This is where 99% of traders fail. Even with a winning strategy, most people can't follow their own rules because they let stuff like fear and greed to decide which trades to take and which trades not to take. They revenge trade they overtrade, they close trades way too early because they're afraid of losing. And here's the truth, your mental edge is what determines if you actually make money in the long run. Because you must understand that professional traders, they don't win every single trade. They just think differently. They treat losses differently. They don't think losses are a bad thing. They know that every single loss brings them much more closer to a win. And as a result, they trust that plan, they continue to execute without hesitation, and they let time do its thing.